Foxy had been collecting acorns for months, one by one, with patience and care. He had one goal in his head: buying a professional foraging basket, the kind woven from rare silver vines. The price was clear: 50 acorns. Only an old bear in the market sold that basket. His shop was famous. Everyone called him Uncle Bear. For Foxy, that basket wasn't just a tool, it was a lifeline. A ticket out of poverty. Finally, one crisp morning when his acorn count perfectly reached 50, he felt a surge of triumph. He excitedly set off for the bustling forest market, his pouch jingling with the weight of his hard work. But when he arrived at the wooden shop, he saw a wooden sign hanging on the door: "Closed today." Foxy sighed, but smiled and told himself, "No worries, I'll just come back and buy it tomorrow. I'm just one step away from my dream." However, the very next day, a massive piece of news turned the entire forest upside down. Mayor Owl, wanting to boost the woodland spirits, announced he was giving every single animal a 50-acorn bonus from the town reserves. He proudly called it the welfare bonus. Naturally, all the animals were absolutely thrilled. Suddenly, everyone felt rich. The market, usually calm on a Tuesday, was absolutely jam-packed. Everyone was aggressively looking to buy something. One animal wanted fresh wild berries, another was hoarding pinecone decorations, and someone else was buying up all the new winter scarves. Foxy, who now had an impressive 100 acorns in his pouch, confidently strutted toward Uncle Bear's shop. He was ready to claim his prize. But when he finally pushed through the crowd and got to the front, he stared at the price tag in absolute shock. The price of the silver vine basket was now 120 acorns. Foxy's jaw dropped. "But Uncle Bear," he stammered, "yesterday the sign said 50. I have 100 acorns now. How is this possible?" Uncle Bear, who looked incredibly stressed and was wiping sweat from his furry forehead, pointed a heavy paw at the massive, endless line of animals behind him. "Look out there, Foxy. Everyone got rich all of a sudden. They have extra acorns and they are buying whatever they see regardless of the price. I have to raise my prices. If I don't, my entire shop will be completely empty by noon and I won't have any stock left." When there's too much money chasing too few goods, demand skyrockets and prices are forced to go up. Uncle Bear leaned in closer. "In the world of economics, Foxy, this is called demand-pull inflation." Foxy walked away, his ears drooping in disappointment. "It's fine," he whispered to himself. "I'm not giving up. It's just 20 more acorns. I can gather those somehow." For the next few days, Foxy worked tirelessly. He polished dull acorns for the squirrels, carried heavy baskets of damp twigs for the beavers, and essentially took on any odd job he could find in the forest. His paws ached, but eventually he saved up the extra 20 acorns. He now had 120, but right at that exact moment, a dark rumor echoed through the forest canopy. A strange, aggressive blight had suddenly hit the eastern silver vine patches. Those were the exact same rare vines Uncle Bear used to weave his famous baskets. The supply was devastated. Foxy felt a knot in his stomach. He ran as fast as his legs could carry him to Uncle Bear's shop. Panting heavily, he looked at the tag. The basket's price was now 180 acorns. In sheer disbelief, Foxy threw his paws in the air. "Uncle Bear, you raised it again? Is it because of the mayor's bonus again?" Uncle Bear shook his head sadly and pulled out a crinkled piece of paper. He showed Foxy the new invoice from his suppliers. "Look at this, my boy. The blight destroyed the crops. The price of raw silver vine threads has completely tripled overnight. It's incredibly scarce now. I don't want to raise prices, but I don't have a choice. The fundamental cost of making this basket has gone up, so the final price tag has to be much higher just for me to survive. This has absolutely nothing to do with high demand anymore. When the cost of raw materials or production goes up, we call it cost-push inflation." Foxy, feeling utterly defeated and completely hopeless by now, dragged his feet through the dirt paths of the market. He kept wondering how on earth he could ever afford a simple basket when the goalposts kept moving. Just as he was about to give up and go home, he spotted a flashy, brightly colored small stall tucked in a corner. A massive painted sign read, "Premium High-Quality Baskets, Unbeatable Affordable Price." The seller was a slick, fast-talking young fox wearing a neat little bow tie. With a massive, charming smile, he waved Foxy over. "Hey there, friend. Looking for a basket? I've got the exact same model you see over at the Bears shop, but way, way cheaper. Today only, it's just 110 acorns." Foxy, who was exhausted and had exactly 120 acorns, felt a rush of relief. He had no time left to wait or ask questions. He handed over his hard-earned acorns right then and there, grabbed the tightly wrapped package, and hurried back to his den. But the moment he got home and untied the ropes, he froze in his tracks. The basket inside was a disaster. It wasn't made of sturdy silver vines at all. It was woven from flimsy, cheap, dry yellow grass. Not only that, but the actual size of the basket was at least 30% smaller than the ones Uncle Bear sold. Foxy sighed, picked up a single, moderately sized apple from his table, and gently tossed it into the basket. Rip! With that very first apple, the bottom of the basket completely tore open, dropping the fruit onto the dirt floor. Foxy stared at the broken mess in anger. "I get it now," he growled. "This is just another sneaky trick." He kept the price tag relatively low so I wouldn't notice, but he drastically cut back on the quality of the materials and the size of the product. I basically paid the same amount for way less. Foxy had just discovered shrinkflation, the hidden, silent kind of price hike that businesses used when they don't want to change the number on the price tag. Later that evening, Foxy sat by the edge of the river, staring blankly at his ripped, useless basket, feeling deeply nostalgic for the good old days. He vividly remembered just last year. Back then, with those exact same 50 acorns, he could have confidently walked into the market and bought a sturdy silver vine basket, a heavy glass jar of sweet wild honey, and a warm, hand-knitted winter scarf. But today, 50 acorns couldn't even buy him a fraction of a proper basket. He pulled an acorn from his pocket and looked at it. The physical acorn hadn't shrunk. It was the same size, the same weight, the same color, but the invisible magic or power it held had drastically withered away. This invisible thief, quietly and continuously stealing the real-world power of his hard-earned money, is a phenomenon economists call the loss of purchasing power. Realizing he couldn't just sit around and let his savings evaporate, Foxy decided he had to fight back. First thing the next morning, he marched straight to his boss, Mr. Badger, a stern but fair animal who owned the massive local berry orchards where Foxy worked. "Mr. Badger," Foxy pleaded, "the economy is entirely out of control. Everything in the market is too expensive now. I simply cannot afford to live on my current salary. I need a massive raise or I'm going to starve." Mr. Badger, seeing the genuine desperation in his best worker's eyes, nodded in agreement. "You're right, Foxy. Times are tough. I will double your acorn wages starting today." Foxy was absolutely overjoyed. He felt rich again. But the very next afternoon, when he went to the local bakery to buy a simple slice of berry pie to celebrate, he was horrified to see the price had doubled there too. Foxy marched back to Mr. Badger to complain. Mr. Badger sighed heavily. "Foxy, where do you think the extra acorns for your doubled salary came from? I had to drastically raise the selling price of my berries to afford to pay you and the other workers more. If I didn't, my business would go bankrupt." Foxy felt a headache coming on. He realized he was trapped in a nightmare loop. Higher prices made him demand higher wages, but his higher wages forced businesses to charge higher prices, which meant he would soon need another raise. This exhausting, endless, destructive chase where wages and prices keep pushing each other higher and higher is known as the wage-price spiral. Seeing the panic and struggle spreading across the forest, Mayor Owl panicked. He thought he needed a brilliant, quick fix. Deep in the woods, he discovered a magical, glowing oak tree that could magically drop thousands of identical acorns every single minute. The mayor declared an open season. "Come one, come all. Take as many acorns as you want. We are solving poverty forever." Foxy spent the whole night shoveling acorns into his den until they reached the ceiling. "I'm the richest fox in the world," he cheered. The next morning, feeling like a king, Foxy loaded a massive, heavy leather pouch of acorns and strutted to the market to buy a single, juicy green apple. But when he handed the pouch to the fruit seller, the seller just laughed a hollow, tired laugh. "A pouch? Are you joking, Foxy? The seller pointed to a sign. An apple costs an entire wheelbarrow of acorns today. By tomorrow, it might cost 2 wheelbarrows. Money was literally everywhere. Piles of it littered the streets, but because there was absolutely zero effort required to get it and no new goods were being produced to match it, the money became completely worthless. People were using acorns to start fires because wood was actually more valuable. This terrifying, chaotic moment when money loses its value faster than a rushing river and prices explode out of control daily is the devastating reality of hyperinflation. Absolutely terrified by this economic chaos, the forest animals did the only logical thing they could think of to survive. They completely stopped spending. They took whatever valuable acorns they had left, dug deep holes in the ground, and buried them, hoarding their wealth for darker days. Within a week, the bustling market went dead silent. It was a ghost town. Uncle Bear, standing in front of a shop full of baskets he couldn't sell, grew desperate. He took out his red marker and slashed the price of his absolute best premium silver vine baskets down to a shocking 10 acorns. Foxy, looking at the sign, should have been thrilled. It was his dream price, but he didn't smile because the harsh reality was that no one was buying Mr. Badger's berries either. The orchard wasn't making any money. Mr. Badger was forced to close the farm entirely, and Foxy was laid off. He lost his job and his income. He didn't even have 10 acorns to his name anymore. Yes, the prices were falling drastically, but the entire forest economy was freezing to death. Nobody bought, nobody produced, nobody earned. This chilling, silent economic standstill, which is often just as dangerous as inflation, is called deflation. As Foxy sat alone, looking at the quiet, empty market street, the autumn wind blowing dry leaves past Uncle Bear's closed shop, he finally understood something profoundly important. Economics isn't just a boring subject found in thick textbooks, and it isn't just a bunch of complicated numbers on a chalkboard. Economics is the living, breathing, everyday story of foxes, bears, badgers, and every single animal just trying to navigate the rules of the forest to build a secure life. Thank you so much for watching this deep dive into the world of inflation. If you want to keep exploring the fascinating secrets of money with us, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to Foxonomics, and let me know in the comments below what complex economic adventure should Foxy go on next.